King's Royal Africa Company led the way. The search for slaves to raid and to buy took the British to the coasts of West Africa, to port settlements such as Elmina, Kormantine, Ouida, Porto Novo, Badagry, and Lagos. To understand Nigeria's experience, its slave trade experience, is to understand the uniqueness of a place like Badagry, which is an integral part of what 4 centuries ago was known as the Slave Coast. We've just come down Badagry Creek and we beached at a place that is very close to the old slave port. And 15 minutes walk along this thin strip of headland, I'm almost at the Atlantic Ocean, which means this less than a mile's walk could carry 800 human captives in 20 minutes, meaning that in 30 minutes, this human cargo could be shipped on a boat heading down the coastline to as far as America, which made Nigeria's slave trade experience both ruthlessly efficient, difficult to police, and as a reason, it lasted far longer than other parts of Africa. And within a short time, 2 to 3 million human captives were moved along this part of the slave coast. Think about slave trade for a moment. Do you think about Nigeria? Probably not. This is because Nigeria's story is never told within the world slave trade story. We're somehow omitted from the experience. As a result, we're led to believe that ours was a harmless or even non-existent story.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
In fact, when our empire story is told by the British, they often fast forward to William Wilberforce and the abolition, that grace-saving effort to save us from our barbaric past. They never talk about how it was started by Europe, specifically by Britain, the English slavers, the merchants and the planters. We have associated images of America, that evil destination of slaves. It often draws empathy towards the black Americans from Nigerians, but it forgets the original sin. Whereas, in fact, Nigeria's slave trade story is so conspicuously terrible that people or countries who have by conspiracy, silent or otherwise, omitted it or suppressed it for the purpose of slave tourism elsewhere or for other gain, they should be ashamed of themselves. The cleansing of this history has had the worst impact in Nigeria, just as much impact as slave trade itself has had on Nigeria. It's been permanent and indelible. More than any factor, the stealing of people in this Niger territory of the Guinea coast, Nigeria to be, has had the most influence on the making of Nigeria. It brought contact, cultural distortion, exchange of ideas. It drove wars and changed our lives forever. No wonder that early Spanish slavers quickly gave way to the more prolific and constant English. So let's hear the figures. 4,803,000 slaves were exported between 1501 and 1867 from Nigeria's bights of Benin and Biafra alone. Roughly 2.5% of Africa's population of less than 90 million in the year 1800. This is atrocious. The leading slave ports in Africa were Bonny, Old Calabar, New Calabar, and then Lagos. In short, the bights of Benin and the bights of Biafra, the most prolific and concentrated area of slave export throughout the era of the slave trade. Is the whole brother selling brother story an oversimplification? Perhaps there's no incentive known to mankind that could dissuade a trade whose profit was between 180 to 280%. So let's get some explanation. Kings were due a percentage of the value of goods. European traders would lure African middlemen to the edge of the coast, or sometimes on board, to snare, capture, and chain slaves for sale. Kidnapping and hostage-taking in exchange for a cargo of slaves was also very common, so common that fishing and bathing by the shore were dangerous chores for many African villages. Log entries of the crew of the English ship the Gregson of Liverpool in 1771 shows that 32 Negroes that the crew boasted of were tricked and kidnapped into cargo. Local wars were encouraged or instigated by the white traders, and why not? The 1785 logbook of a semi-literate Antera Duke, an Efik trader of the old Calabar coast, read as follows: "I saw Bassi come and bring one woman slave to be beheaded in honor of my father. We heard news about a new ship. 3 more heads were cut off. At midnight, Captain Browns went away with 430 slaves. Porter and his tender went away with 350 slaves. Tom Aqua and John Aqua joined together to catch men. The greatest dispersal of mankind. Where are the connections of Atlantic slave trade today? In the United States, 80% of the slaves to arrive America were from Africa. Nigeria, through the Gulf of Guinea, that is, the bights of Benin and Biafra, contributed 23% of that number. Effectively, 4 million slaves were shipped between the ports of Ouidah, Lagos, and Calabar regions to the east coast of the United States and Canada, making Nigeria the largest of the slave raiding destinations and probably the corresponding origins of the black population today.